Good evening, everybody. We're going to get going. We're 5 minutes behind, and we want to give the mayor lots of time. Little housekeeping issue. Number one, my name is Rick Bowen. I'm the current chair of the LV3C, and we do have some handouts in the back, kind of explaining about the group. Those of you who've been here should have a pretty good idea at this point. There's also some leftover police notifications that were here last time of emergency numbers and everything, so if you didn't get one last time or you weren't here, please feel to pick one up. Just a quick reminder, this is a citizens group, so we do pay for the rooms and things, so if you care to make a donation, that would be wonderful. It helps pay for the room and some other little items around here. But the donations that go directly to the church. They don't go to the group. They go directly to the church. First of all, I'd like to take a minute, introduce the leadership group. Hugh Kelly is our moderator, Facebook expertise and video. Pam Berry is our moderator and secretary. Joyce Kelly is not here. She's another moderator, spouse of Mr. Hugh. Anna Anderson, back in the back, member at large. Fred Fott, absent. He had to make a choice of spending 15 days in Europe or coming here. He's a wise man. He's in Prague and drinking beer, I guess. And I'd like to acknowledge many others who've helped in this group, in particular Sabina Sullivan. Recently won the Woman of the Year Award for her work at David and Margaret. So, I'm going to make a real quick comment. This is a volunteer group, and over the weekend, I wasn't here. I was visiting my kids in Texas. There's apparently some, and I'll use the word snarky, comments made on our Facebook page. As stated on a Facebook page, this is a closed group. We invite everybody that truly is interested in what's happening in our city to join this group. If you were invited through someone else and you're not interested, please simply go on and remove yourself. You won't certainly hurt our feelings. If you are interested in what we're discussing, but not a member, that's okay. We want people, and you make your own decisions. But if you just want to make negative comments about the group, or we're asked to join to monitor our group, please quit. We get enough of that. So to have snarky comments made back and forth, quite frankly, we're just not interested. And so we've said many times, and I hope people have heard it, the majority of day-to-day activities at the city are great. But there are some things that are not okay. Lawsuits, questionable loans, division at the council level, lack of transparency within the city government, within the city management. That's not okay with us. This group wants to bring those items to your attention to all citizens, every citizen. If you want to just bash the group, you're really not welcome. Otherwise, everyone is invited and welcome. I'm going to save the other items, the focus items, etc., for after the mayor's presentation. I want to take a moment and say, obviously, our guest tonight is the Mayor Don Kendrick. I've known Don for over 30 years. Our daughters went to school together, and we're kind of best friends in elementary school. While I don't always agree with some actions by the council, he is the mayor of our great city. We have no better ambassador for the city than Don Kendrick. He accepted our invite tonight to join us to give us the state of the city address. He's also agreed to stay for some Q&A on this subject afterwards. So it would be your chance to ask whatever question regarding this subject that he wants. Please stay after the address for citizens' comment. This is citizens group. We depend on input. We depend on your comments. We have seen things. We have focus items. But without the citizens coming in and giving their input, the group just won't survive. This is your time to make your concerns known. So without that, without anything else, welcome Mayor Don Kendrick. Thank you.
Couple of things. If Rick can make it back from Texas, Fred can make it back. The second comment I have before I get started is, I told Hugh a minute ago, he's got the worst seat in the house because he gets to look at my back. So I apologize on record, Hugh.
That's okay.
Hugh and I have discovered that we are fellow veterans, and I have a lot of respect for veterans, so thank you, Hugh, for your service. This was presented in last month, and I'll get started here. It was put on by the Rotary and the Chamber of Commerce, and there was some sponsors. Hospital was a sponsor, Waste Management was a sponsor, and somebody else. So this kind of highlights our fiscal overview. $58.6 million budget. It goes from July 1 through June 30th, so we're over halfway through. Our expenditures increased $2.3 million from last year. One of the things that we are very proud of is the ability to even in times that were tough and times that aren't so tough, that we understand the reason to keep our city not only looking good, but functioning well, and the infrastructure. So $9.9 million in capital improvement investments were made. Not necessarily from all city money. So the general fund is not used in most of that stuff. Something we're very proud of, third highest increase in assessed value in LA County in 2018. One of the big contributing factors was Gilead. We've talked about Gilead in the past. Gilead is a biopharmaceutical company that if you take Wheeler and you just keep on going till you run out of road, on the left is the most magnificent commercial building Laverne has ever seen. 320,000 acres. And this is a manufacturing plant. Their headquarters up in Foster City, up in the Bay Area. But this is, and they have manufacturing plants throughout the country and in several places around the world. 500 employees will be employed here within the near future. In about 5 to 7 years, they will begin an expansion, and they will go from 320,000 square feet to 4,000 square feet. They'll build a small parking structure and increase their employment to 1,000. You'll never know they're there. They will be spending a lot of money in our community. They will be living in our community. And the person who is ahead of this plant lives in Laverne already. One of the things that the City Council is adamant about is the protection of a reserve fund, a rainy day fund. Our goal is to keep it at least at a minimum 15% or more, and we have more than that right now. Also in 2018, we did a fiscal sustainability plan, and then we passed a bond obligation, a pension obligation bond. Those were huge for us because the pension obligation bond eliminated over $50 million of unfunded liability in employer retirement that we owe. And so we can go back and talk about anything you want as far as how that happened, but it happened throughout the state. There's a town not too far from us that is 5 times bigger, that has a 10 times bigger unfunded liability, $500 million. So anyway, we took the opportunity to do a bond. Our interest rate was lower because we are at a very good risk in the bond market, so our interest rate was lower, and we'll be able to pay the bond off in 27 years. So we feel very good about that. The fiscal sustainability plan is a plan to make sure that we can pay for that for those 27 years. So otherwise, if we didn't do this, the acceleration of the California PERS retirement system was such that in about 8 years, we would be paying $11 million to PERS, and there's no way that we could look forward to any increase in revenue that would touch that amount. So we would be going backwards. So this keeps us sustainable and keeps us going. So we're very excited about that. 2018, I don't know if anybody was around in the spring. If you weren't around, everybody else was, because we had 50,000 people coming through Bonita Avenue from San Dimas all the way to Pomona and Claremont. I think we had the best location. This is actually sitting on Bonita, on the north side of Bonita, looking south through D Street, with 50,000 people, and they spent a lot of money that day through our community and absolutely loved it. We all live in Laverne, and we love Laverne. Most of these people that came from outside had no clue what Laverne was or where it was. So they do now, and they're wanting to come back. On active transportation element that we are pursuing, we want to establish strategies and tools intended to enhance our city streets. And what that means is we want our streets to be all-inclusive. We want, we're obviously going to have cars on streets, but what about people walking? What about people biking? And so forth. So these are things that we are moving forward with. We want to create a plan that moves goods, people, all the way around the community. And we want to identify what improvements in mobility systems are necessary to accomplish all that about getting people around. We want to create multi-modal transportation options that creates safe, attractive, and independent access for travel, and not just cars, but all transportation. We're going to be starting a committee to help the Planning Commission, help the City Council move forward in the planning of all new streets and existing streets when we're going to redo them and so forth, which we do at $10.9 million. A lot of that was repaving, keeping our streets up to snuff, so we like not only to live in Laverne, but it's okay to drive in the streets. And that is going to come sometime later this year, that committee for this plan. This, I'm not sure you can see this, but this is kind of the plan of, this is baseline here, and so baseline is going to be included. This is White Avenue right here, the S-turn that you see. This is Bonita. This is Pudding Stone Drive. There is a number of races that occur throughout our community. The City Council probably 4 times a year is asked to shut down part of this street because they're having races around Pudding Stone, the lake, and it includes Pudding Stone Drive, and then Wheeler Avenue coming down here. So it is going to be an active area where we want to connect. How do we connect with other cities? Pomona to our east, San Dimas to our west. One of the things that we're doing to try and get information out is we've had a number of council corners at events where people can come and talk to staff and council members. And also, I have done some coffee talks also. The police department is doing coffee with a cop at different facilities throughout Laverne. So try and get information out to the residents. This is something brand new that you maybe have not heard about yet, but we are embarking on a promotion for the city through our businesses, through CGI. And they have done about 3,500 communities, which we are kind of at the beginning. But you say, well, they've done it 3,500 times, but there's a lot of communities in this country, cities and so forth. So we feel privileged to be able to participate. And when you go on it, there's messages from businesses, from elected officials and so forth to try and promote and encourage people not only to locate their business here, but also to use these businesses to spend money. Remember, all the sales tax comes back to, not all of it, but 1 cent out of every dollar comes back to the community that we can use for services. Also, the higher occupancy we have, the more valuable the property is. When it's sold, our property tax goes up, and that also helps with services to our community. We're doing a number of things to get different information out. We've done, on the top left, it says Introduction to Youth and Family Action, YFAC. That's a committee that was started over 25 years ago with one purpose and one purpose in mind, and that is to help kids at risk in our community. How can we create programs? What can we do? And one of the things that we've done, in the top right, is another video called Vaping. It's an epidemic in our schools. We just had a meeting with our superintendent and a couple school board members and staff. It is, and in the Youth and Family Action, we have a senior at Bonita High School and a junior that talks pretty openly about things that are going on, and it is virtually an epidemic at the school. They see no reason not to try it. But when you get information about what vaping does to you, it scares the you-know-what out of you. So we're doing everything we can. Foothill Business community. The Veterans Memorial, which by the way, opened several years ago, $275,000 it cost, and it opened debt-free, and there was no city money. It was all donation. The Liberty Bell. How many people know there's a Liberty Bell in front of City Hall? Most of you, okay. In 1753, the original Liberty Bell was cast in England, go figure, and sent to Philadelphia. The only reason they had that Liberty Bell was when they had a meeting, they would hit it and it would travel 2 miles in both directions. And that meant come for a meeting. Of course, it became known as the Liberty Bell, and England wasn't too happy that, about that. But in 1976, the same company that cast the Liberty Bell said, are you interested in any more Liberty Bells? There was 100 cast, 2 for each state, and the bicentennial, 1976. So guess who has one of them in the state of California? You live in Laverne. And the only reason we got it, we sent our money in before anybody else did. Not all of the Liberty Bells are the same size as the original Liberty Bell, but ours is. So not only do we have one of 2 in the state, we have one of the original size. So it's kind of cool. There's some information not only in City Hall, but also at the Liberty Bell. Stop and look at it. It's kind of cool. We'll be, you can't ring it right now because all high school kids used to come up and ring it as they were going by. So it was disabled, probably not too much, but in 250 years, which is coming up in 2026, they will undo that and it will play, which is kind of cool. So there's a lot of things, that we're trying to get out there, fun things to know about your community. Okay, so this is the video. You're not going to be able to hear it. This is the principal of Bonita High School, and this is the video that we put out to all the parents. By the way, right after this video came out, 4 middle school kids were caught vaping. And it wasn't good stuff in it. It was either tobacco or marijuana. 2 of the parents had seen this. And so they said, yep, we saw it, we understand the value of having this, and we're sorry it happened, but anyway. So that's some of the stuff that we're doing to get this information out. Social media is the way that younger people are getting information, and this is one of the ways that we're trying to get stuff out to the parents and so forth about that. We've already signed a contract with a company that is going to bring webcasting to our city council meetings and our planning commission meetings, so you'll be able to sit at home, put your feet up, and watch the city council meetings. So I appreciate that, and I would like to thank somebody in this room for pushing that. Anna, thank you very much. We've signed the contract, and this will be installed this summer, so by the end of the summer, we should have this up and running. We've already visited, West Covina has it. Our new district office, which is, they're moving into it this Friday, has the same system and the same company. So it's, we're excited about getting it. Thank you, Anna. So Laverne does not sit idle. These are all, about 20 of them on here, new businesses that are in Laverne. We are about before Osh closed, and by the way, it's our understanding that Osh and the landlord have come to an agreement, so that contract is coming to an end. I'm sure they paid heftily to get out of it, but that frees up the owner to get somebody else in there. And there's several people that are very interested in that site. I have no idea who they are. So I would love to see another Osh come in, but there's other businesses that we could. But anyway, most of these are restaurants. And this is a list of all the restaurants in Laverne. There's 98 of them. So if you were wondering about where to go eat, please stay local. All your sales tax, that 1 cent out of every dollar spent comes back to Laverne. So there's Asian restaurants, there's Mexican restaurants, there's Italian restaurants, lots of fast food, donuts and bagel restaurants, there's Mediterranean restaurants, of course sweet shops with the ice cream and yogurt, coffee that also serve food, and there's lots of other choices. So used to be you'd have to leave Laverne to go out to eat. Now we have other people coming into Laverne, and when you hear Claremont people say you have better restaurants than we do, that's pretty exciting. We have 2 new business incentive plans. One is job creation for affordable income persons. So if you want to start a business or you want to increase your business, there's $25,000 federally that can help do that. Also, what that does is it increases our sales, it increases sales tax, doesn't cost the city any money. We're also looking at through recruiting new businesses or expanding businesses within the town, the city has set up a way to do that. 2 programs, grant or loan. On the loan, the grant is federally, the loan part is coming from the city. So we'll invest, you pay us back. In 2018, we had our very first Laverne on Tap. It was kind of scary. My business is downtown. I poured at the wine walks. I think it's gone on 7 times. Those tickets, and there's 13 of them, 1,300 of them, are always sold out prior to the event. We had a meeting less than 48 hours before this event started. We limited the tickets to 800, and there was less than 350 sold. And it was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Somebody at the meeting said, oh, beer walks are different. They always buy later. We started the beer walk at 5 o'clock, less than 48 hours later, and we'd sold 800 tickets. I've never seen anything like it in my life. So we were pretty euphoric about that event. Different kind of people, but it was a fun day. Chamber of Commerce, if you've around town seen a new banner program, These are businesses, local businesses, that have paid to put their business banners up and to promote the city. There's a lot of good things to spend your money on in Laverne. And Outdoor Elegance, a place of time, which was downtown, the little kids. Outdoor Elegance is out on Foothill and Damien. Something the police department is promoting, and I don't know if they talked about this when they were here last month, and it's the 9 o'clock. It's kind of like the bedtime check. What do you do at 9 o'clock? And there's some things in here that if you're a little bit older, you'll be surprised, because one of them is leave your porch light on. And the old thing about conserve energy, turn them off and so forth, is no longer. You want to leave your lights on. And also, one of the things that is advantageous for you, because I think everybody in this room knows somebody, or maybe even more unfortunate, has had a break-in their home. But there's a product out, and a lot of you heard of, and it's called Ring, or a similar version, where it takes a picture of the person. And but this is about, what do you do at 9 o'clock? Remove anything you want to keep from your car. Lock your car doors and trunks and roll up the windows. Lock your home, doors, windows, gates, and garage, and turn on your exterior lights so that they know you are there, and their picture is going to be taken, and they're going to come in to lighting when they come in. Hide it, lock it, therefore you get to keep it. We had some expenses last year in public safety, $2 million. Most of it was in the radio system, and that was quite expensive, $1 million. Our old radios, which were Motorola radios, were no longer supported by Motorola, and they wouldn't repair them. So we were forced into getting new equipment. The new equipment is better, and it coordinates better with the agencies. Purchased 2 new ambulances. There's a new drone that we have purchased. We haven't put it out yet. The FAA is, we're kind of working with them. But the one thing about a drone with a camera, it's pretty small, is when there's areas that we need to be able to get a sight of. If there's something going on, it's easier to do it with the drone, kind of get the lay of the land before we send officers in. It's much safer for them, and the outcome is always going to be better. We've replaced 5 patrol cars. They take a beating after a while, and of course we're always looking for better protective equipment. I don't know if you've seen they used to have to wear a bulletproof vest inside, and now it's outside. It's much more freedom, and it's much cooler, especially in the summertime. A new program called Laverne Cop Talk. Sergeant Michael Martinez is twice a month is going into homes and presenting a program on home safety, car safety, and phone safety. I know somebody, a very, very dear friend of ours, older lady, just got hammered for $3,000. We keep hearing these things. My aunt, probably 6 years ago, $800, and she called me, and she lived at Hillcrest, and she says, Don, I need $10,000 right now. I said, Aunt Margaret, I'll be right there. And the language between the caller when he called and myself, I was in the Navy for 6 years, and I used some of that on this idiot, because all they do is try and go after older people with lies and stories, and it is just disgusting. So please, please, please protect our seniors. Coming up on May 20th is a first time. It's the I'm sorry, Hugh. Is the Police Officers Association golf tournament. I'm proud to say is the proceeds of this golf tournament. I told you about YFAC, Youth and Family Action, which we create programs for kids at risk. The police department are involved in that, our school resource officer. That vaping video that came out of that, a lot of it had to do, and you would, if you saw it, you would see a resource officer talking about that. Anyway, the Police Officers Association is giving the proceeds to that, to Youth and Family Action. It's not supported by the city, it's supported by our own fundraising, and we've created probably a dozen programs over the years, so it's really neat. So if you like to play golf, this is a great way. It's $600 for a foursome, $175 if you play individually. So good stuff. The goal line is coming. The goal line station is going to be at E and Arrow Highway. There's a set of freight tracks. Every once in a while you hear the freight, not very often. Most of the time it's high-speed rail that goes through the metro, but every once in a while there's a heavy train that comes through. That right-of-way is wide, and it has enough space in that right-of-way for an eastbound and a westbound gold line tracks, which are narrow gauge. So there's no property that has to be purchased for this. And so that's kind of, there'll be a kiss and ride where that's the term that's used to drop somebody off. In the back, there's a parking structure. There's going to be a bridge that's going to go from the goal line area over to Fairplex, because so the coordination of events and so forth will be able to be both north and south. All of First Street from White to E Street is all being redeveloped. In fact, if you want to see something that you've never seen in Laverne before on First, go down there now. They're just finishing up on 38 very high-end apartments, and something we've never seen in Laverne, because this is all about getting cars off the road. It's all underground parking. So there's no garages, there's nothing on top. It's really a cool. So the gold line phase, it started at Union Station, went up to Pasadena, then Pasadena to Azusa, and the next phase is Azusa to Montclair. The problem is they went out to bid and they added a little bit from the last phase, and they came up $570,000 higher bid than they thought. So it's like, well, what are we going to do? And what they decided to do, we'll build it, but we won't complete it. So they're just going to build most of it, but the last two, in fact, the terminus was going to be in Laverne. And the reason they picked Laverne is they could get to Laverne financially, and Fairplex has a lot of space for parking. But Pomona did not, they wanted to be included. So there was another $93 million found. It got extended to Pomona. Originally, our train was going to come in 2026. When it got shortened to Laverne, it was 2024. So we were going to get our train 2 years early. But when they added Pomona, now we're back to 2025 with the anticipation of getting to Montclair on 2028. The sad part about that is there'll be a lot more traffic in town with that, because Montclair has 1,600 spaces with the easy ability to add 2,000 more. We don't have that, even with the Fairplex. So there's going to be a lot of people coming from the east to the last stations, Pomona and Laverne, from Claremont and Upland and Rancho to get here. So we're trying to work through that and see what that's going to look like. But first thing is the train's coming right now. It's coming in 2025. I told you about the goal line development, that first down on First Street. This is what it looks like. This is on the east side, and that in the bottom where it says open summer of 2019, that's the entrance into the below grade carport. If you look very close, you can see the upscale bathroom in the lower right hand side of the picture.
That one's being removed.
Yes. So one of the things that's really great about our development, and I told you about the bridge that was going to come over to Fairplex. So the very top 11 and a half acres that is at the Fairplex is actually in the city of Laverne. And most of their land is leased. This is not. This is owned by Fairplex, the association, so they can develop this. And they're going out for RFPs, requests for so this right here is Arrow Highway. This right here is White. This corner down here, when it narrows down to a point, is at the finish line. So you know where the finish line is on White Avenue. That is the end of Laverne. And so then it takes an arc, and it comes back up, and it goes behind El Marinero, the Mexican restaurant. This right here, that comes up here, is the current metro. And there was talk at one time that could we change it and move it to the north side and have all the tracks together. And it was just way, way, way too expensive. But if you can see, the Fairplex will have it up, it'll have some kind of a trolley. And our hope is that on this corner, which is Arrow Highway and White, that we'll have about a 5 to 6 story boutique hotel that'll have about 150, 60 beds. Only one in Laverne. We don't have a hotel. So that's what we're hoping for. Mixed use, some owned, some rented, office, retail, and so forth. Fairplex has a convention center, conference center, and they are looking for ways to keep that place up. The only way they can entice people to use their facility if there's something after hours. So it's all local stuff. But if they get a lot of different types of maybe theaters and restaurants and things like that, it will entice people to come and use their facility. So other noteworthy developments, the University of Verne is working on their new master plan. And their master plan, by the way, includes over 30 acres of acquired property south of Verne and on the other side, right across the street in Gilead. And now they've got some more property that has been donated. So they've got probably 60 acres down there. All their athletic facilities eventually are scheduled to go down to this area. Wheeler and Foothill. I'm proud to say that it is finally moving forward. Not overly thrilled with what's going to be there, but it's going to be a Taco Bell, a drive-through. The drive-through will not be on the street. It'll be all internal into that center, but it'll be a brand new building. That building will be torn down. They expect to start probably in about 2 months. That's what they're hoping. It may not be quite that soon. The demo permit and the building permit are all going to be done by one developer and one right after another. So we should see that corner on Foothill and Wheeler completely different by the end of the year. And at the end, I've got some comments that I would like to make on that center. The Emerald Collection, which is on the corner of Emerald and Baseline, the southeast corner, 19 homes. They've all sold, and to my knowledge, they're all occupied. Pudding Stone Hill on the south side of town, all with the north view of the mountains. The 4 are being built now, and they'll be in groups of about 4 until they get 14 built. And the Amherst site is just off Williams, is a site that we use for our well. There's some excess property, and we're looking to sell that property. I think most of you in this room know what an e-ticket ride is at Disneyland. This is the opportunity to do an e-ticket. for when you go all the way up Wheeler to Golden Hills. If you turn to the left, there was a fence there that prevented you from going any further. Sabina knows about this because she lives very close to this. But this is open now, and it's used to be a really windy, washed out road a lot of the times. It is now pretty straight, but it's pretty down. So if you want to get on your skateboard, you'll sure hope you got brakes. This is paid for mostly by the development that wanted to come in down where the old Stir Rock Christmas tree farm is. So he said, well, if you want to build and you want to put homes there, you have to have a way for emergency equipment, you know, our police and fire to be able to get there and service you. So most of this was paid for by them. Always looking to use somebody else's money. This is the new Wheeler. Most of you have seen this. Going north, there's some medians in there to kind of slow traffic down, and I think it works. So, and it looks a lot nicer. By the way, the plan is for the next stretch is for Wheeler North, from Foothill to Baseline, and I believe we're also going to be putting some medians in with plantings. New parking lots on the east and west side of downtown. New street lights downtown. These are the late March, and the one on the right is the new one. These were paid for by the Downtown Business Improvement District. The Wine Walk and the Laverne on Tap is all done by Downtown Business Improvement District. Any business down there, once the calculation for their business license is paid, it gets doubled. So for 27 years, I have paid into this downtown business improvement because my business license gets doubled every year so that things like this can be done. But all the lights around the trees, the sparkling lights and so forth, all the trash containers, all that kind of stuff is all paid for by the businesses downtown. Okay, our election is probably about 10 and a half months away, early March of 2020. We talked about a education forum. That's March 27th. That's on a tax measure that's going to be coming out, and you'll hear more about it as we move forward. There's a number of people throughout the community, all walks of life, that is in the planning for our general plan update. Every 20 years, each community is mandated by the state of California, by state law, that you have to update your general plan. What does the general plan do? It addresses 7 issues to be in compliance. It talks about noise, it talks about transportation, it talks about building, and these things. As you move forward, what is your city going to continue to look like? And all walks of life in our community are involved in making this plan. And that's it for this. I do want to mention some things about something that I was involved in Facebook over the weekend. Got some comments on, so I think it's good to put this information out because I think the more people that know about this, Norm Faustini and Gilbert Ivey on our planning commission are here. They deal with this all the time, so I know they're very familiar. And that is the corner that the northeast corner of Foothill and Wheeler. So what makes a good center? I think one of the things that makes a good center is it kind of talks about our lives. If we live in a home that, especially in a condominium complex or in a, like where Rick lives, there are certain things that you have to abide by. And there's certain things you can't do because you have your front yards you take care of, you have your backyards, you put your pool in and all this kind of stuff. But there's certain things you can't paint your house purple because it just, not only does it take your value away, but it takes other values away. So we have a conformity issue on that corner. And that conformity issue is, we have 11 owners that own that center, each building, the different buildings. So what that does is it almost creates a non-conversation with the city, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute. All the other centers in Laverne are owned by one person, with the exception of things like the old Pep Boys, that's now the 99-cent only. That's a single owner because that land was separate. But where the Vons is and the rest of that in there is all owned by one party. So if there is, we have the ability to communicate, and we communicate well with these. But there are with 11 owners, and guess what? Not one of those owners has a business in that center. They're all absentee. We have tried to have meetings with all 11. We've called them, we've written them. The most we've ever gotten at them at one meeting is one person. One person. So we even tried, since redevelopment agency was in the city, saying, okay, let's discuss if the city can pay for the design work, not the building of it, but the design work, so that all the facades look good and it's great. You're not going to build it for us? We're not going to pay for that, because these people, they get a check. That's all they care about, is that check. The Crunch Fitness owner, which was Vons, is in charge of the common area maintenance. So all of that is done. The problem is, you know, who does the work? Oh, we got somebody to do the work. Well, who is it? Oh, we have a handyman. And so you can kind of see the difficulty the city has in trying to get that center up so it looks like everybody else. It's the worst looking center in Laverne. It has been the worst looking center in Laverne. We have gone to some pretty wealthy people and we've asked this question: can you buy these people out and be one owner? Sad part is, it's going to take to get somebody to buy out that doesn't want to sell, you got to pay them more than it's worth. And there's investors saying, what's in it for me? If I'm investing, I want a return. And I have certain parameters for my return based on what I'm going to spend, and it doesn't pencil. So we can't get investors to go in for one owner, and we've tried all kinds of things. There's something that just happened that's being, building inspectors up there, our planning directors up there, our engineers up there to try and get something on one of the buildings, but it's very difficult. We are looking at that all the time, trying to make it as good as we can. So, but I know it's difficult, and we don't have the magic pill on that one. I think the other centers are good. We have, before Osh, we had 97% occupancy in the city. We've had some lukewarm, but never definitive moving forward on the restaurant site that's across from Chili's, across the entrance to the theater. After that was built, we kind of saw what we wished we'd have taken that theater and put it further back, because the parking has discouraged people from using that site. So, any questions?
What about finding the 11 owners for not keeping it up? Can you put fines on them or anything?
The question is, can you find the 11 owners? And it's their property. What looks fine to them may not look fine to us.
So they have to be written.
And so it's private property. And the reason that we got the Crunch Fitness when Vons was sold, and he wanted to make his building look good, and he had the money to do it. But we couldn't, if he was increasing the size of his building, now it's a different story. Now we can put in some parameters that make a difference. But it's private property, because I've asked the same question: why can't we put some teeth into it? And they said, the law doesn't allow you to. There are some things that you can do administratively wise for code, but you know, there's only so far you can go. Yes, sir.
On the northeast corner of Taco Bell, it's going.
Yes.
Is the city going to allow any of those trees to be taken out?
I'm not sure.
There are some markers that are already gone in, some surveying markers, and I'm concerned that that's going to happen, and that I think would be a shame.
Maybe pass that on. And I know the drive-through is the drive-through is all internal, so you're not coming in off a street, not leaving on a street. So you'll be coming in to the north side by the Anderson building, and then you'll be coming around and coming back out into the parking lot. So I don't know if the case on that.
And I'm sure most people are probably not thrilled that it is another drive-through restaurant.
I haven't talked to anybody that is. I'm not.
Yeah, but the city doesn't have any.
The city has certain, there's a foothill specific plan, and in that foothill specific plan, there's guidelines of businesses you can have and businesses that aren't allowed without some kind of a conditional use permit, and that would go to the planning commission to see if they can see. One of the things that our city, and I think we have a lot of good businesses, is because we look at things a little differently than other cities. And we look at it this way. If it is a good idea, how do we get to yes? If it's a bad idea, how do we get to no quick? And that's kind of, it is what it says, and it has to be, you know, it has to be by code and so forth. But if it's a really good idea, and that business, however good they are, is going to go to another city, how can we get them to be in our community?
I guess today is Earth Day, and I think just it begs the question, you know, we have a lot of drive-through restaurants, and if I were king, it would be none, because it pollutes, it's a waste of gas and other resources.
And you wouldn't, and the problem is, the services wouldn't be there, because it is amazing. He came to city council, the owner that sold it, and he basically was doubling escrow. We didn't know it at the time. And he said, I can't find anybody to be in that corner that doesn't want to drive through. And he's looked at it. You go to Chili's, there's 3 places reserved for to go. Restaurant after restaurant. I go to Taste of Asia, and I sit there and think, gosh, some nights you wonder, there's a steady stream of people coming in to get food to go, and they take it home. So the sit-down meal at a restaurant is how I was raised, is not what people want today. The millennials don't want to sit there and eat. They want to go do something else while they eat. You know, dining rooms are a thing of the past. So whether you like it or not. And I'm agreeing with you, but anybody else? Rick?
Don, is there any, what you explained about that area, kind of the same thing with Sierra Leone. Is there anything the city can do proactively? Because we went through the Marshall Canyon thing, and we know the rumors float around. Is the city in the same boat there?
Okay, so the question is the city doing anything, and can they do anything for Sierra Leone Golf Course? Sierra Leone, do I need to, I probably don't need to explain, because I think people have already learned about Sierra Leone Golf Course. Our goal is to have a golf course there. And I think we can have a golf course. The city is looking at some options and things to do. I'm pretty closed chest at this time, because we don't want the owner, who is not a good person, to see our playing cards so he can adjust his playing cards, kind of a thing. But there's a lot of work being done. I know George Henderson is, who you know as a fellow member. I've talked to George all the time, and I know that he's involved in talking with some city people and so forth, so that yeah, to try and do everything we can to make sure that it stays a golf course, and to get some people in there to hopefully buy it, because the owner, all he wants to do is develop it. He doesn't care about the golf course. He wants to develop all of it. He says, well, I'll do 9 holes, but it's away from the golf course, and it's a quote-unquote executive course. I don't know what that means, because I've never played golf in my life, but the people I've talked to are not enthusiastic about it at all. And I think there's the people that bought homes up there are frustrated because, you know, but there's something that's there's 4 parcels up there. So under the current code, you can build 4 houses. It's not what he wants. He wants hundreds of houses in there. But it is zoned agriculture, designated as open space. And to my knowledge, there is not one of the 5 council members that has any thought of changing that zoning from agriculture to something else. That doesn't mean we move forward in a way we want to, but that will prevent him from developing in the way he wants to. But what is it going to look like in the interim? You know, the lease expires in July. It is a belief that it will close at that time. So hopefully not. Hopefully he'll keep it open, but he's not a golf course operator. He's a developer. He's a builder. So. And Pam.
Kind of a feedback on his question as far as proactive things, and as far as that center at Wheeler and I understand it's their property, but there are zoning, there are ordinances. I mean, a homeowner can't do some things without getting fined.
They are not. The question is there other things that can be done? As long as if they're breaking code, absolutely we can do something. If
there's safety issues,
absolutely. If there's safety issues or something they cannot be doing, then the city has the right to go after them. Yeah, and we look at it carefully. But as a center, it's the worst looking center, but that doesn't mean it's unsafe.
A lot of people walking through potholes and tripping.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Potholes, and yeah, I'll bring that up. I'll talk to him tomorrow. So I'll pass that on. Yes, sir.
It's a little different. He was talking about the Wheeler Pass north of Foothill. And I just want to ask, on some of these left turn lanes, when they're cemented in, can we make them longer? For example, one on Foothill and White, it's too short for people, jam up the other lane. And if we're just longer.
So what you're talking about is going north,
Yeah.
there by the older taco restaurant,
Yeah.
that the left turn going on to westbound Foothill. It used to be you can get in there, but the median now blocks the way that you can have more stacking. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so northbound, when they fix that, it's painted in right now. If they cemented it, they just make the lane longer so more people.
And paint it, then that would be okay.
Yeah, it's painted right now, as it is, but if they redo it and cement it in so you can't, kind of go over the line, you're forced, like, they make the lane 5 cars long, that's all it's gonna go. Right now, it's painted so it can be infinite, really.
Well, it's not infinite, because there's actually a median that comes back that starts almost at the south end of that restaurant. Of
I'm just
Del
talking
Taco.
about between baseline and Foothill right now, that
Oh.
you said it's going to be,
Oh, you're talking about the north side?
Yeah, it's going to be
Okay,
fixed.
yeah.
I'm just asking that the left turn lanes in any place we develop, make them longer.
Yeah, a good idea. Like just like you said on
because
fruit.
it obstructs traffic, like
Yeah.
saying in Foothill, right at White, that lane gets so congested, it just blocks traffic.
Yeah. Or what might be even better is to put 2 lanes in, like the north White, where it goes into Foothill. You got 2 going this way, 1 long one going this way.
Yeah.
But you only have 1 from Wheeler westbound, maybe 2, because you can't put 2 on both sides.
Yeah.
1 and 2, and maybe 2, because that backs up, there's a lot of people that, I know exactly what you're
But
talking
just
about.
anytime you do that, where it's cemented in, maybe just make it extra long.
I agree, yeah, good.
That sort of thing.
Thank you.
It's a safety issue. too,
Yes,
because people
yeah.
start swerving around and everything.
Thank you, good, yes.
With the new transportation for cars, bikes, as well
Uh-huh.
as pedestrians, is there talk of what we've now become known as road diets in our city?
I missed that term, road,
Road diets, where they take like 2 lanes in each direction, they take one just for bikes and crowd everyone that's main transportation is still cars. Whether
I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think we've all seen where if you get 1 or 2 bikes, they're pretty good and they're pretty courteous. But you start to get 8 to 10 bikes, are they as courteous if there's 1 or 2? And in some cases they are, in some cases they're not. So, one of my biggest pet peeves is, do they obey traffic laws? And in a lot of cases they do, and in some cases, they don't. But cars do the same things.
Now, so what I'm asking is, are there any plans to do away with a car lane in anywhere,
Oh.
in any direction, so that the bikes have their own lane?
Possibly, but I think it depends on the car traffic as well. I know that is a discussion item in the Active Transportation Committee for our streets, but I don't know the specific answer to that because I don't think it's come out yet, come back to us yet.
So what exactly is a multimodal transportation option? The cars, bicycles, train?
Well,
Is
not
that-
trains, because it would be bikes, it would be walking, it would be skateboards, it would be, lots of things besides just cars. When I was growing up in Verne, a long time ago, I rode my bike all over this town. I ran all these foothills when I was running cross country at Bonita High School. There wasn't very many people here, but as we have increased the housing, as we've increased our population, we've increased a lot of things, and one of them is cars. So I think what we have to do is we have to share the road, right?
Skateboards,
Sure,
where the bicycles are?
sure. Well, I think bikes have. I would rather see skateboards on sidewalks, not on streets, and I would rather not see the bicycles on sidewalks.
Uh-huh.
But I also think you need to consider what percentage of people are using bikes as modes of transportation in their daily lives, as opposed to recreational.
Yeah. One of the things that we're looking at for, I told you about the 38, upscale apartments that are down there as part of the Gold Line. That first mile, last mile is a real high consideration. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be down in that area living, and they don't want to own a car. Period. They want Lyft, they want Uber, or they want to ride a train. They have no desire to own a car. There's lots of younger people today that they just don't even want to drive. They don't, when I was 16 years old, I went to the DMV and got my license. The day that was my birthday present. That doesn't happen anymore. Not in California anyway. Yeah, you're probably right. Yes, ma'am. No, you.
Yes, you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for information. I really love the idea, the goal is kind of exciting. I already live in Verne Old Town more than 30 years. So last Tuesday, I went to the Gold Line presentation, and then noticed that they widened the White Avenue. My house actually just two houses next to there. It's really very close. I talked to some residents and just right on Y Street in Bonita, kind of like upset about that because it's really caused the safety issue. For myself, because my son play with skateboard, and he was very sad, almost every day skateboarding, cross that street, wait for the light, and then go to the third street. So in my imagination is that like in the coming years, and then if the White Avenue will have 2 lanes, it's really feel like a more risky because the car will drive faster and it will be difficult to cross. And then for the resident I visit today, and actually it's very, if they really take 2 lanes, it's really close to their house. That's why they kind of upset about has to. Is that has to do if to the resident around that area. We like the goal line, but we don't want the White Avenue has to right.
You don't want 4 lanes on one.
Yeah.
So right now, I talked to you about the issue of the train coming and the dates and so forth. And White Avenue is getting more and more and more traffic. White Avenue is an off-ramp. There's lots of people that use that to, it's a White Avenue, Fruit to White, South, and they just go right through our city. There's no intentions of stopping in our city. It's used, and I think all of us have probably at one time or another used streets just to get somewhere. We really didn't care other than getting to where we were going. There on the 29th, next Monday, is a study session
Yes, 4:30.
to discuss this issue. This is not a city decision. This is a part of an EIR, Environmental Impact Report, and when they changed and they started making Laverne and Pomona the end of the line, they had to do a supplemental environmental impact report, and that's what this is about. So this is your chance, anybody's chance, to have input into the EIR for the goal line. So.
Yeah, I have a question about, just like you said, in the future, maybe we really like Uber, train, not really drive our own car. So for long term, should like reduce the traffic, not really have that much traffic. And then if the station is like a 20, 25, and then later on Pomona, and then maybe just like this couple years will be like more traffic, and then later on not really need that.
You may be right.
Yeah, because like today, I don't really see any traffic. It's just really, really quiet. I don't feel that we have to have that because we feel like not just noisy, it's just like a safety issue.
Yep,
That's
I
what
agree.
I really concerned.
You should see when I was riding my bike to school, there was no cars. It was great.
Okay, thank you for it.
I understand exactly what you're saying. Anybody else?
Just to piggyback on that, I really like the little Waze app that tells you the shortest ways to get places.
Yeah.
And, if you're coming up to 71 and it's getting backed up, a lot of times it'll take you off at Rio Rancho.
Yep.
Out White.
It's the only way I go.
And then it turns you on an arrow
Yeah.
to Wheeler.
Yep.
And I think if that is widened 4 lanes, it's gonna be people going straight up to the freeway.
Well, one of the things that I think is important to understand is that when the train gets to Montclair, the Laverne station is going to be used by who? Laverne, right? It's our station. San Dimas station is going to be used by San Dimas, and so forth and so on. Claremont station is going to be used by Claremont. So where is the most of our people that are riding the train going to come from? Most of our people live where? North of Foothill Boulevard. Not much lives south of Foothill Boulevard. So if you're going to be north of Foothill Boulevard, how are you going to get to the train? You're going to come down Wheeler. Wheeler is a 4-lane highway, comes down to Arrow Highway. Arrow Highway is a 4-lane highway, and you go to the train. So I think eventually, you're right. I think we're going to see White Avenue calm down again. The problem is the people getting off at the freeway heading for Pomona South are not going to use Wheeler. They're going to use that street. So we don't have the answers. So anything else? Kathy?
No, I'm interested in this, putting in the medians. Is there any plan to come up this far on Wheeler?
Yes. You mean as far as repairing the road?
No, to put in those.
The curves.
I've always thought, right,
I don't know.
trees, you know, in the center.
I don't know. If anybody lives on Baseline, you'll probably hate me for saying this, but one of the things that I don't like when you come around the bend over by Leroy Boy's home, that's the Haynes Center now, is that when you come and you look west, what do you see?
Power lines.
All you see is a runway. It is a wide, wide road, and let me ask you a question. If you lived in Upland and you lived on Euclid and you took that beautiful center median out and you cut all those trees down, would it be the same? And the answer to me is absolutely not. So wouldn't it be nice if we had a nice wide median and we planted trees and it looked beautiful? I think that would be a great place in Laverne to live. But will it happen? I don't know. I keep pushing because I think that takes a runway and makes it into a wonderful, wonderful street.
Is Baseline in this part of Laverne, Caltrans?
No, it was until the freeway opened, and then it still was. They took the signal out of Fruit, they put it in for the construction, then they took it out, and they said, okay, we want to give it to you. And we said, we don't want it, because you made it less safe. So, and there was somebody killed there. They said, we'll put the signal back in, and I think they gave us quite a bit of money also for future maintenance. And eventually that road is going to be redone as well.
That's now owned by the city of Laverne.
I'm sorry?
That is owned by the city of Laverne now.
That is owned by the city of Laverne. Foothill Boulevard is owned by Caltrans. So if you say, I don't like the way this signal is, we get it. We have worked with Caltrans until we're blue in the face trying to get signal timing issues corrected. Especially if you're going eastbound on Foothill, turning left at Fruit in the afternoon, forget it.
Yes.
You go up Emerald to Bowden and turn on Bowden, turn right. That's the way you get to Fruit. Anything else? Yes?
She said power lines, is it ever in the plan to put the power line underground?
Where?
Just on Wheeler Avenue?
No. But I will tell you, it's very expensive to do that. It's going to happen on White. And it's not because of the goal line or anything. The city's been working on putting money aside for years, and we have money along with Edison, and all the wires from, I think it's, where is it here?
Which?
The wires, is that all, it's all the way, like Town Center Drive where it cuts off, all the way down to like First Street?
Yeah.
All those wires are all going underground. It's very expensive though. $3.2 million. There'll still be streetlights, but that's different. Does anybody know about the streetlights? This is I think a win for us. The streetlights in Laverne, there's almost 2,000 that are not, they don't carry power. They're just streetlights, and they're throughout the city. So we have purchased those from Edison. We're changing them all to LED lights now, and it will save the city about $170,000 a year. Then we're going to probably pick certain spots throughout the community, and we're going to put mini cell towers on them. So there's no dead spots in Laverne. And I will tell you, the city hall, where I live, and where my office is are dead spots. It's like, how did I get so lucky? But I got lucky. So, and I know there's dead spots. There's friends of mine that, especially if it's in a little bit of a down, where I think you live in a little bit of a down, cell services, even if you get a Verizon booster, which friends of mine had, they said, well, it works for a while, and then for some reason it doesn't work anymore. So.
What about the 5K or 5G?
The 5G, there was somebody got up talking about 5G and about what's going on in the air with 5G, and I was concerned. I've never heard that before about radio waves for 5G, and then I've been approached by somebody else since then and said, Don, this is not good. So there's got to be some research on this before, you know, we're going to be. Yeah, I'm concerned. So I don't know where it's going to go. When that came about, when that lady talked at our city council meeting the other night, I'd never heard anything like that. So I think it's certainly worth Pam.
I've heard of testing that was done, I believe it was in Europe, and they did some testing of the tower, and hundreds of birds dropped dead.
So did everybody hear that? I'm not good. Yeah, somebody had a question over here. There you are.
I was the person who went to the meeting.
Yeah, there you are.
Meeting as well.
Thank you.
Because I've done so much research on it, I'm very concerned about it.
Good.
And I was gonna ask, can we come up with some kind of ordinance?
Before you leave tonight, let me get your contact information. Are we done, Rick?
Yeah, we gotta wrap this up. Don, thank you so much. I hope everybody got their questions answered.
I would like to thank Rick and Pam and others in this group for the invitation, and my friend in the back that has had to endure the good side of me.
Oh, I wasn't there.
Okay. Thank you for your concern about our city. I've lived here, well, I was born and raised here. I was raised on a chicken ranch with 10,000 of my favorite chickens. Started working when I was 7. This is a great community. I think it's the best there is. Your involvement is important. It's not perfect. It can only be better if we all try to make it better. So thank you. And things like the 5G, things, I mean, just, it takes all of us, right? It's not one person, it's not 5 people, it's 32,000 people. You get involved and we'll make this city the best it can be. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to hit on a couple of notes here. We asked Norm, okay, thank you. I never recognize you. Hang on just a second, if you would. I just, want to go back over the last meeting. There was 3 current focus items. We talked about the elections. We talked about the focus items on the Cyril Verne for the development potentially. And one other item we had was the future of our own fire department. So we know that there was a settlement recently, but the question still is, what is the future for our own city fire department? The other plans, or the other items that we had were the general plan. Don talked about that briefly. One of the items we talked about was the new potential proposed new sales tax that's being discussed. The 5G, we added that to the list. And, pardon me?
Planning Commission, okay.
And the Planning Commission, and that goes to Norm. There's 2, what I understand, there's 2 you're timed out. And we appreciate all the service, both yourself and I think Mr. Ivy's back there, correct? Yes, for 8 years. And so there's 2 openings, and I don't know enough about the planning committee, so we asked Norm, one of the persons that turned out to at least just give us the cliff notes. The cliff notes first.
Okay, again, my name is Norm Faustini, and I've been a planning commissioner. It'll be 8 years at the end of June, and then my time is up because the most you can put in as a planning commissioner is 2 4-year terms. Now, in order to be a planning commissioner, you have to be at least 18 years of age or older and have lived in the city for a minimum of 1 year or longer. Now, the Planning Commission itself is made up of 5 planning commissioners, with 1 person acting as the chair. All right, the Planning Commission itself also has, at the meetings, which the meeting is on the 2nd Wednesday of every month at 6:30 at City Hall. We also have the city attorney in case there's any legal questions that come up, plus the director from the planning department, and also any of the planners that are going to present the what's known as a conditional use permit. Okay. The meeting normally start promptly and usually they probably last a minimum of an hour, and sometimes they may go longer. Now, the director and his staff will present the request for the conditional use permit. And the Thursday or Friday prior to the meeting, you'll get a binder which will have all of the requests for conditional use permits. So that gives you the weekend to go through the binder, make any notes that you want to make, and be prepared to ask any questions at the meeting itself. And at that meeting then, the director will ask the planner to come up and give the commission a brief outline as to what that permit is going to be for. And then at the end of that presentation, the chairperson will ask the planning commissioners if they have any questions that they would like to ask. Then the next step will be to find out if there's anybody in the audience that has any problems with the request. Now, also in that binder that you get, if anybody has written in with any concerns that they have, you will have had that weekend to go over those. But in the meantime, other people may come to the meeting, and it's under the Brown Act. All of our meetings are open to the public. So the people in the meeting then will be asked if they have any questions. And then the last person that comes up will be the person requesting the permit itself. Now, during these different steps, the Planning Commission is asked if they have any questions of either of these groups. And if so, then those questions would be bounced back and forth. But the last person would be the person that's asking for the permit itself. And when they get up, they'll try to respond to some of the questions and some of the concerns. Now, I'll just give you a couple of the concerns. One may be that somebody wants to add a second story to their home. And the concern from the next door neighbor is, wow, there's going to be a big window on that side of the house, and you're going to be looking into my bedroom. Well, I don't want people looking into my bedroom. So now the person that's making the request, based on the questions and the response that they get from the commission, may have to go back to the developer and say, hey, this isn't going to work. Is there any way we can put that window on the back of the house and keep that side of the house without any windows, roughly? The other question that could come up is a business that's either moving in or starting a business in Laverne may want to open up a health spa or a dance studio, whatever. And as a result, sometimes there's music involved. So now the owner next door comes in and says, well, wait a minute, you know, this is going to be a workout place, and are you going to have music? We understand you are. Well, yeah, we're going to have speakers, we're going to have all these different things going on, people exercising or dancing or whatever. I said, well, that's not going to work because this is a common wall, and that music is going to go through the wall. So now we got to go back and say, well, wait a minute, is there any way they can soundproof that wall? Okay. And normally, generally, those are the kinds of things that are worked out. Well, even though the room is soundproof, they still have to take measurements to make sure that sound isn't permeating through the wall to affect your neighbor next door. Some of the other questions that come up have to do with parking. And you know, parking, especially in our city, especially downtown, is pretty tough. So these are the kinds of questions come up. Now, to be a planning commissioner, it's opened up to male and female. Doesn't matter. And like I indicated too, that it helps if you have construction experience. It's not necessary, but it's a big help, because the other thing too is I recommend when you get the binder and you see these projects that come up, go out and look at the property. Because even though you get the dissertation, what it's about, sometimes you can't visualize, but when you go out there, you say, oh, now I understand. You know, so this way you're one ahead of the game, because you've gone out and you looked at the property. And believe me, it's paid off a number of times. So in any event, there's 2 openings coming up. However, the letter came out today, and you have to get your paperwork in by the end of the month. That's Tuesday, April the 30th. And you can pick up the application at City Hall, okay? And I certainly encourage you, if you're interested, put your paperwork in, because it's very interesting. The only other thing you have to do, though, if you're selected and the city council makes that determination, you're selected, there's a 2-hour test you have to take. And don't be scared by tests. I see somebody sitting there saying, ooh, I know when they take a test. It's a very simple test. Nobody's ever failed it that I know of. And you have to take it and take the 2 hours. Don't be like I did a couple of times. I took the test and did it in an hour and a half, and I got notified by the city. You didn't take enough time. I said, what do you mean? I answered all the questions. So they gave me a different test to take, so I had to take another test. So I learned from my mistakes. So I'm telling you, take the 2 hours, take 3 hours. We don't care as long as you pass the test. But don't take anything less than 2 hours. So that's a quick briefing on what it's about. And is anyone here looking into applying for the job? I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It really is. You meet a lot of people and you learn a lot about your city. And it only takes a couple of hours, you know. Yes, ma'am.
How's the pay?
We're supposed to get a pay raise. They keep saying the check's in the mail, but it's never coming. No, it's a non-paying job, you know, and if you love your city, you want to get more involved in finding out what's going on, just like the mayor said. There's a lot of things going on and a lot of projects. The other thing we're hoping, we need more business in our city. More business, you know, so, you know, hopefully we'll fill up a lot of our vacancies. You know, we don't want more taxes like Sacramento is doing right now. We don't need the taxes. Any other questions? I know it was quick, so I'm sorry I didn't scare anybody away that was thinking about it. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
You know, one thing important in this group is public input. So this is the time we want to ask anybody any question, anything that you'd like to become a subject, you'd like a focus. Again, we learned about the 5G, so that's interesting to say the least. So does anybody have any other questions, any other subject they'd like to breach at the time? No? Okay. There are, again, as Norm just said, 2 committee spots. You're going to have your paperwork in by the 30th, so if you're interested, you know somebody might be interested, at least they have a pretty good idea of what it would entail. With that.
One of the members of our group, Jeff Bassler, is going to join. Who's that?
Oh, yes, good.
Yeah.
Okay. And, yeah, I think, you know, that would be certainly a stepping stone for anybody that's interested. With that, I guess we're kind of done. So appreciate you coming and tell your friends. Oh, next meeting. Oh, yeah, we've got a fancy donation bag, so if anybody's so inclined. And the next meeting, from what I looked on my calendar, will be Monday, the fourth Monday of the month, which I believe is May 27th. What, Monday, May 27th? We probably won't do it that day. So we'll send out, we'll post it on the site. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.